Episode 1, The First Ring. I was halfway through an article I didn't care about when the phone rang. Not my cell, my old landline, the one I kept plugged in only because I was too lazy to throw it out. It was 2:17 a.m. Nobody calls at that hour unless it's bad news, or a wrong number. I almost didn't answer. But something about the ring, it was slower, heavier, as if each chime dragged through molasses, pulled me toward it. Hello? At first all I heard was static. Then, a voice. Evan? I froze. That voice, soft, shaky, but unmistakable. My throat tightened. Claire? I whispered. I hadn't said her name out loud in 6 years, not since the night I identified her body. It's me, she said. Listen, don't answer when he calls you next. My brain was screaming at me. This is impossible. This is a prank. This is madness. But my heart knew it was her. The way she hit the N in my name, the faint upward lilt at the end of a sentence, the subtle catch in her breath when she was scared. Who's going to call me? I demanded. There was a pause. Then, faint in the background, I heard something strange. The hiss of ocean waves, and beneath it, the slow toll of church bells. The two sounds didn't belong together. There wasn't a single church near the coast in this town. Her voice cracked. He's already looking for you. Please, Evan. The line cut out. I stood there, phone pressed to my ear, listening to nothing but dead air. I checked the caller ID, unknown number. I hit redial. The automated voice on the other end said, "This number has been disconnected since March 12th, 2017. My stomach dropped. That was the day Claire died. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my dark kitchen, replaying her words in my mind, each repetition twisting tighter around my chest. By sunrise, I'd convinced myself it was a dream, or maybe my exhaustion playing tricks on me. And then the phone rang again. Same landline, same slow, heavy chime. But this time, when I picked it up, I didn't hear my sister. I heard breathing, slow, deliberate, too close to the receiver. Then a low voice, male, rough, almost amused, whispered my name. Evan. I dropped the phone. It kept ringing in my head long after it stopped. Episode 2, Static in the Grave. The morning after the second call, I convinced myself I'd lost my mind. It was easier than believing the alternative, that my sister had reached out from the grave and that some unknown man now knew my name. I decided to trace the number. The caller ID was still unknown, but a friend of mine in tech owed me a favor. I emailed him the phone's log data, half expecting him to tell me it was spam or some cheap overseas prank. Instead, 20 minutes later, he called me back, breathing fast. Evan, this number's registered to the office at St. Agnes Cemetery. My blood went cold. That's impossible. St. Agnes burned down 15 years ago. I'm just telling you what the records say, he whispered. The number hasn't been active since the fire, but somehow it made a call last night. I thanked him and hung up, staring at the receiver like it had teeth. That evening I drove to what was left of St. Agnes. The cemetery gates were rusted, chained shut. Beyond them, the headstones leaned like tired old men, and the scorched remains of the office still crouched in the far corner. The windows were black sockets. The roof caved in. I walked the perimeter until the air shifted, heavier, colder. My skin prickled. The wind was still, but somewhere inside those ruins, I heard it. A faint, distant ring. I froze. It wasn't my imagination. It was muffled, buried under debris, but steady. Someone, or something, was calling. I left, fast. That night, as I sat at my desk trying to work, my email pinged. A new message from an address I didn't recognize. No subject line, no text, just an audio file. I clicked play. Static filled the speakers, a low hiss like breath through clenched teeth. Then a woman's voice, thin, breaking, spoke a single word. Soon. I didn't realize I was shaking until I noticed the cursor trembling across my screen. My phone rang, the landline. I almost didn't answer, but I did. Evan? It was Claire again. Her voice was weaker this time, strained, like she was speaking from underwater. I'm listening, I said, my throat tight. They won't stop once they find you. Don't. The static swallowed her. Claire, I shouted. Tell me who he is. Nothing, just the hiss of the line, and underneath it, faintly, the same tolling church bells and crashing waves I'd heard before. I slammed the phone down. The screen on my answering machine blinked. One new message. I hit play. A man's voice, deep, slow, said, "You've got the wrong grave, Evan." Then silence. Episode 3, Wrong Number from the Past. I didn't answer my landline for 3 days after the last message. I kept telling myself that if I ignored it long enough, it would stop. That maybe whatever was on the other end would get bored, move on, haunt someone else. I was wrong. On the fourth night, I was pouring a glass of water when the phone rang again. My hand hovered over the receiver, and then I saw the caller ID. It wasn't unknown number this time. It was my own number, not the one I use now. The number from my first apartment 10 years ago. My heart pounded so hard I felt it in my throat. I hadn't thought about that place in years, hadn't wanted to. Too many memories, too much I tried to bury. I picked up. Hello? At first there was nothing, just faint static. Then a voice, my voice. Evan? It was younger, rawer, the way I used to sound before years of cigarettes and sleepless nights had roughened me up. I don't have much time, the voice stammered. He's in the room. My grip on the phone tightened. What are you talking about? He's watching me from the corner. Don't, the voice cut off, replaced by a sound I knew too well. The groan of the wooden floorboards in that old apartment, the exact spot by the bedroom door that creaked if you stepped on it. I tried to speak, but the younger me wasn't listening anymore. Oh God, he whispered, voice shaking. He's smiling. A sharp crack split the line like a short circuit, and then silence. I stood there frozen, the kitchen light buzzing overhead. I wanted to believe it was just a recording, some elaborate prank. But deep down, I knew no one else knew about that creaking floorboard. No one but me. I tried to call the number back. A mechanical voice answered. This number is no longer in service. I hung up, my hand trembling. That night, I dug through an old box of belongings until I found the faded rental contract from that first apartment. The address stared back at me like a challenge. By midnight, I was standing outside the building. The landlord's name on the buzzer was new, but the bricks, the peeling paint, the narrow hallway, they were the same. I climbed the stairs to my old unit. The door was painted black now, but I still saw the outline of where my name used to be taped. And then I heard it, from inside the apartment, the floorboard, creaking, once, twice. Then, the slow, deliberate sound of a phone ringing. Episode 4. The caller knows too much. I didn't sleep after visiting my old apartment. The sound of that floorboard creaking replayed in my head until sunrise, each groan louder, heavier, as if it was right outside my bedroom now. By the next night, I'd convinced myself not to answer the landline anymore. I even pulled the cord from the wall. It didn't matter. At 1:09 a.m. the phone rang. I swear to you, I'd unplugged it. The shrill sound cut through the apartment like a blade, against every ounce of common sense. I picked it up. Evan, a voice breathed. My chest locked. It wasn't Claire this time. It wasn't the man. It was her. Laura? Her laugh was soft, familiar, and cold. I was wondering how long it would take for me to get through. Laura had been my girlfriend 7 years ago. We hadn't ended well, mostly because she never had the chance to end it herself. She died in a hit and run outside my apartment. The driver was never caught. I don't know what you are, I said slowly, but you're not her. Oh, I'm her, she whispered, and the way she said it, casual, like she still had the upper hand, made my skin crawl. I saw you that night. Evan, you were standing at the window, looking down at me before I died. I gripped the phone tighter. No one knew that. I'd never told a soul that I'd been at the window when she was hit, frozen in shock, unable to move. You didn't run to me, she continued, her tone sharpening. You didn't even come down. My voice cracked. It happened so fast. You could have helped me. The air in my apartment felt heavier, thicker. I could hear something in the background of her call, a steady dripping, like water hitting a metal surface. She kept speaking, her voice getting closer, as though she wasn't on the phone anymore. Do you remember the ring I wore? The one you said you'd replace if it ever broke? I swallowed hard. That ring had been shattered in the crash, a thin gold band bent out of shape. I'd kept it, hidden away in the back of my dresser. Check your desk drawer, she said. I turned slowly toward the desk across the room. My hand hesitated over the handle, then pulled it open. Inside was the ring, perfect, untouched, as if it had never been broken. My heart pounded in my ears. I told you, Laura said, her voice now a whisper behind me, not in the receiver. I'm still here. The line went dead. Episode 5, Crossed Lines. For the next 2 nights, I left the phone off the hook. I thought if it couldn't ring, I could breathe again. I was wrong. At 3:04 a.m., the receiver, resting on my desk, emitted a soft click, like someone had picked it up from the other side. Then, voices. Two of them, both low, both deliberate. I should have slammed it down. Instead, I froze, holding my breath, listening. "He's almost ready," one of them said. It was a man's voice, rasping, as if each word dragged over glass. A pause. Then the second voice, softer but sharper. A woman. "Not yet. He's still breathing the wrong air." They weren't talking to me. I'd stumbled into something I wasn't supposed to hear. The man chuckled. "He's starting to remember. They always do before the end." My pulse thudded in my ears. The woman asked, "Do you have the time?" 3 rings from now. I didn't know what that meant until I heard it. The faint ding of a bell in the background. Not a phone, not a doorbell, a church bell, slow, hollow. The man's tone shifted. Lower. "Does she know?" "She suspects, but she won't warn him again." I thought of Claire, of her broken voice telling me not to answer. The woman continued, "When it happens, it will happen in his own voice." I felt my skin crawl. The man said something else, but his words warped, turning into static so thick it rattled in my teeth. I had to pull the receiver away. The sound wasn't just in my ear, it was inside my head. And then, as suddenly as it began, the line cleared. The man whispered, "He's listening." My heart jumped. The woman laughed, a sound like wind in a hollow tunnel. "Let him." Click. The line went dead. I stood there, every muscle locked, the phone heavy in my hand. Against all reason, I dialed 69, last call return. The automated voice said, "This call originated from an unlisted number. Last active 22 years ago." 22 years. That was the year Claire was born. I hung up and noticed the air in my apartment had changed. Cooler, like a window had been left open, but all the windows were shut. Then I heard it. From somewhere behind me, far too close. A bell. 3 slow chimes. Episode 6, The Operator. After the bell chimes, the calls stopped for 3 days. No wrong numbers from the past, no dead voices whispering warnings. It should have felt like a relief. Instead, the silence pressed on me like a weight. I'd gotten used to the fear. The absence of it was worse. On the 4th night, the landline rang. I picked it up without checking the caller ID. Maybe some part of me wanted this to end, one way or another. But this time, there was no static, no dead relative, no rasping voice. Instead, a calm, measured woman's voice spoke. "Long-distance operator, would you like to be connected?" Her tone was professional, almost warm, the kind of voice you'd trust without thinking. I hesitated. "Connected to who?" "To the other side," she said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. My fingers tightened around the receiver. "Who exactly is on the other side?" "That depends on who you ask for," she replied smoothly. "Anyone you've lost, anyone you've been waiting to hear from. The call will come through, for a price." I didn't like the way she said price. "I'm not paying anything," I snapped. "Oh, it's not money." Silence stretched. "What is it?" "Then, a minute," she said simply. "A minute from your life for every second you speak to them. Do you understand?" I opened my mouth to tell her this was insane, but another thought clawed in before I could speak. Claire. If I could just hear her again. The operator continued. "Say their name, and I'll connect you. Or hang up, and you'll never have this chance again." Her voice had the slow pull of a riptide. You didn't realize you were drifting until you were too far out to swim back. I took a breath. My lips formed my sister's name. But before I could say it aloud, I heard something faint in the background. A sound I recognized instantly. The steady toll of church bells and the hush of ocean waves. The same sound from Claire's first call. "You're lying," I said. "I never lie." "Mr. Hale," the operator said, her voice losing its warmth. "But I don't control who's listening." Then another voice cut in, overlapping hers, deep, male, and far too close. "Tell her my name." The line cracked, the voices merging into a shriek of static so sharp it felt like needles in my ears. I dropped the phone. When I picked it up again, the line was dead. I checked the caller ID. The number was nothing but zeros. And underneath the phone, on the desk, was a small scrap of paper. My sister's handwriting. One word. Answer. Episode 7, The Call That Didn't End. I kept the scrap of paper with Claire's handwriting on my desk, but I didn't obey it. For 2 nights, I let the phone ring until it stopped. On the 3rd night, it rang at 12:44 a.m. Against my better judgment, I picked it up. "Evan," a man's voice, calm, deep. The same one I'd heard before, the one that smiled through words. "I told you not to answer when he called," Claire had warned me once. And yet here I was, the receiver pressed to my ear. "I'm done playing," I said. "What do you want?" "I want to tell you something," he murmured. "And I want you to hear it all the way through." The way he said it made my skin crawl. I decided to hang up. The click of the receiver meeting the cradle should have ended the call, but it didn't. His voice kept going. "You've been looking in the wrong places. It's not the line that matters, Evan, it's the space between the rings." I froze. The phone was on the desk, disconnected from my hand, but his voice was still in the room. Not in my ear, not from the phone. From the dark corner behind me. I turned slowly, my pulse hammering. The shadows seemed thicker there, a shape almost human, but too still, too patient. "I can tell you where she is," the voice continued. "Your sister. Your answers. But you have to let me stay." "Stay?" I croaked. He stepped forward, not out of the corner, but through it, like the darkness itself bent around him. I caught a glimpse of a pale face, but the features slid away every time I tried to focus. "Say yes," he whispered, "and I'll end the ringing." The air in my apartment grew heavy, pressing against my chest. My breath came shallow. I reached for the phone, thinking maybe if I smashed it, this would end. His tone sharpened. "That won't help. I'm not in there anymore." The next moment, the room filled with the sound of multiple phones ringing at once. Different tones, different eras. A rotary chime, a cordless beep. A cell phone buzz from the early 2000s. And under it all, Claire's voice, faint but urgent. "Don't let him." The man's voice roared over hers. "Say yes." I slammed the receiver down again, but the noise didn't stop. It grew louder, echoing inside my skull until it felt like the bones in my head would crack. Then silence. When I dared to open my eyes, the corner was empty. The phone sat on the desk. The line was dead. And in the silence that followed, I heard something worse than the ringing. Breathing. From inside the walls. Episode 8, last number dialed. The breathing in the walls didn't stop until sunrise. I sat in my chair all night, staring at the phone, waiting for the next ring. It never came, but I knew it would. By noon, my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I decided to try something I hadn't before. Hit redial. I don't know what I expected. Maybe an automated message, maybe silence. Instead, the line rang. Once, twice, 3 times. Then someone answered. "Hello?" The voice was male, tense, alive. I think I just returned your call," I said carefully. "This is Evan Hale." "Who is this?" A pause. Then, "Evan? You're the one who's been calling me in the middle of the night." "No," I said quickly. "You've been calling me." He let out a shaky laugh. "Not me, her." The hairs on my arms rose. "Who?" "Your sister," he said. "Claire." My grip on the receiver tightened. "What did she say to you?" "Nothing at first, just my name, like she knew me. Then she started warning me about him." My chest clenched. "Did she tell you not to answer?" "Yes, but I didn't listen." There was a rustling on his end of the line, the sound of someone moving through a cluttered space. Then his voice dropped to a whisper. "Do you hear it too?" "Hear what?" "The waves, the bells." I froze. "You can hear them right now?" "Yes." "They're getting louder." I pressed the receiver hard to my ear, but my side of the line was silent, just the man's breathing, quick and uneven. Then, faintly, in this background, a woman's voice, Claire's, speaking so softly I could barely make out the words. "Don't let him connect you." The man's breathing turned frantic. "She says he's here. She says—" A sharp crack cut him off, like the receiver hitting the floor. Then came the static. It roared through the line, deep and electric, carrying with it something else, a low chuckle I recognized instantly. "The man. You found each other," he said, voice curling with satisfaction. "That makes it easier." I shouted into the phone, demanding to know who he was, what he wanted, but the static swallowed my words. Then the line went dead. I tried calling back, over and over. Sometimes it rang without answer. Sometimes it went straight to an automated voice telling me the number didn't exist. On the 6th try, a new sound came through before the call dropped, a single chime of a bell, the same as before. But this time, it came from inside my apartment. Episode 9, The Midnight Directory. The bell that chimed inside my apartment didn't echo. It was as if the sound had been placed directly into my head, perfect, sharp, and wrong. I tore the place apart that night, checked behind every wall panel, inside every cupboard, even under the floorboards. Nothing. The next morning, a small cardboard package sat outside my door. no return address. My name written in careful block letters. I didn't order anything. Inside was a thin, leather-bound book, black, stiff, smelling faintly of salt water. No title on the cover, just a single embossed symbol, a telephone handset. I opened it. It was a directory, pages and pages of names and numbers written in neat type. But the names, they were all familiar. Not because I knew them personally, because I knew their obituaries. Accidents, fires, murders, suicides. Every person on those pages was dead. My heart pounded as I flipped through. The paper was thin and cold, almost damp. Halfway in, I stopped. There was my sister's name, Claire Hale, and next to it, the number that had first called me at 2:17 a.m. I didn't breathe for a full minute. Then I saw the entry right below hers. Evan Hale. The number listed wasn't mine, but it was in the same format as all the others. 10 digits, no dashes. I didn't recognize it. As I stared, the ink began to change. The digits shifted one by one until they matched the number of my landline. The phone rang. I nearly dropped the book. The sound was softer than usual, almost polite. Against all reason, I picked up. A woman's voice, not Claire, not the operator, spoke. "You've received your directory." "Mr. Hale? Who is this?" I demanded. "The one who makes the connections," she said. "Your listing went live last night." "What does that mean?" "It means your number is now available to all of our subscribers." My skin went cold. "Subscribers?" "The dead," she said simply, "and those waiting to die." I slammed the phone down. It rang again immediately. This time, I didn't answer. I just sat there, watching it vibrate against the desk. The ringing grew louder, deeper, until it didn't sound like a phone anymore. It sounded like something alive, pulling in air before it spoke. Then all at once it stopped. I looked back at the directory. My listing had moved. It was no longer under Hale Evan. It was now in the very last section of the book, under confirmed connections. Episode 10, number disconnected. I didn't sleep after my name appeared under confirmed connections. Every creak in the apartment sounded like a phone about to ring. 2 days passed without a call. I told myself maybe the directory had been a bluff, a scare tactic. Then, just after midnight, the landline rang. The caller ID showed a 10-digit number I didn't recognize. No unknown, no zeros, just a sequence that somehow felt old. I answered. A man's voice, rough but steady. "Evan Hale?" "Yes," I said, my throat dry. "I'm calling from 1953. The words dropped into my ear like lead. "This is a joke," I said automatically. He ignored me. "My name is Walter Finch. You don't know me." "Nobody does. I was the first one. The first to disappear from your town." I knew the name. My father used to mention it when I was a kid. An urban legend about a man who vanished walking home from the docks. No body. No clues. "I've been trying to get through for years," Walter said. "The line doesn't always work. You have to wait for the right storm. The right bell." "What do you want from me?" "I want you to know it's not random," he said. "The calls, the voices, they're building something." "Building what?" A pause. Then faint in the background I heard the same sounds I'd come to dread. Ocean waves, slow church bells. But there was something else now, a third sound. "Hammering. It's a place," Walter said, almost whispering. "They're making it from us, from the ones they pull through the line. I've seen pieces of it. Walls made of breath, floors of silence." The hammering grew louder, faster. "You're next, Evan," he said. "When your number's disconnected, you'll be inside it too." Static surged through the call, distorting his words. I shouted for him to explain, to tell me how to stop it. Then the line cut. I tried calling the number back. A recorded voice answered. "We're sorry. This number has been disconnected since August 14th, 1953. The exact date Walter vanished. I stared at the phone until my vision blurred. Then, from somewhere deep in the apartment, I heard it. 3 slow chimes of a bell. I looked at the directory on my desk. The pages had turned on their own, landing on my name. And next to it, the word pending was gone. In its place was a single final word, disconnected. Episode 11. 3 rings means it's too late. After the directory marked me disconnected, I didn't touch the phone. I didn't even go near it. But at 2:03 a.m. it rang. 3 times. Not 2, not 4, exactly 3. I didn't answer. In the silence that followed, I heard footsteps in the hallway outside my apartment. Slow, deliberate, moving away from my door. I might have dismissed it, if not for what happened the next morning. The news reported a sudden death in my building. A woman 2 floors down, collapsed in her kitchen. No sign of struggle, no cause yet determined. Time of death, 2:06 a.m. 3 minutes after my phone rang. That day I dug through my old notes. Every odd call I documented since this started. Times, dates, details. A pattern emerged. Every 3-ring call was followed within minutes by someone's unexplained death. Sometimes it was in my building, sometimes across town. I counted them. There were 7. 7 rings, 7 bodies. And then I remembered the call I overheard between the 2 dead voices, the man and the woman. 3 rings from now. They hadn't been talking about a time. They'd been talking about a death. That night, I sat at my desk, staring at the phone, the directory open beside it. My name still sat there, cold and final. At 1:59 a.m., the silence in my apartment deepened. I could feel the weight of something just beyond hearing. Then the phone rang. Once, twice. I reached for the receiver. If I answered before the 3rd, maybe I could stop it. My hand hovered inches away. The 3rd ring came anyway. I snatched it up. A voice I didn't recognize spoke, a man smooth and calm. "It's already done," he said. "Who?" I demanded. He didn't answer. Instead, I heard a dull thud on the floor above me. I dropped the phone and ran upstairs. The door to the apartment above was ajar. Inside, a man lay sprawled on the carpet, eyes wide open, his lips moving soundlessly. He was trying to say something. I knelt beside him, but before I could hear it, his breath stopped. Behind me in the apartment's dark kitchen, the phone rang again, 3 times. When I turned, the handset was already off the hook, dangling, swaying slowly as if someone had just set it down. Episode 12, Call Waiting. I didn't leave the apartment after the man upstairs died. Didn't sleep, didn't eat much. I just sat with the phone, waiting. The directory lay open beside me, my name still branded disconnected. I tried not to look at it, but my eyes kept returning, like it was watching me back. At 12:12 a.m. the phone rang. Not 3 times, not the heavy, slow chime I'd come to dread. This was quick, insistent. I answered. "Evan." It was Claire. Her voice was thinner now, edges fraying, like she was barely holding on. "Listen to me, he's coming, you can't let him—" Bang! The sound came from my front door. I froze. "Evan?" Claire's voice cracked. "Someone's there, don't open it." I moved toward the door, receiver still in my hand. Another bang, louder, then the metallic rattle of the doorknob twisting. "Who is it?" I shouted. No answer, just the scrape of something sharp against the lock. Claire's voice was urgent now. "Stay on the line. Do not put me on hold. What happens if I do? He'll get in faster." The lock clicked. I backed away from the door, heart hammering. "Evan, listen to me." Claire started, but then the phone beeped. A second call was coming through. Call waiting. I stared at the flashing light on the receiver. The second line pulsed like it was alive, demanding my attention. "Ignore it," Claire begged. "Don't switch over." The beeping grew faster, louder, like it was drilling into my skull. My hand twitched toward the button. The banging stopped. Everything went silent. "Evan," Claire whispered. "He's not at the door anymore." The phone beeped again, faster. Then I heard it. From inside the apartment, footsteps, slow, deliberate. The beeping became a shrill, endless tone. I pressed the button, switched lines. The second call connected instantly. A man's voice, calm, deep, certain, spoke. "You should have stayed with her." I turned toward the kitchen. The shadow of a tall figure stretched across the floor, moving toward me, though no one was visible. Claire screamed from the other line, muffled now, distant, as if she was calling from the bottom of a well. "Evan, he's in—" The man's voice cut her off. "You'll hear the rest soon enough." The line went dead. The directory on my desk slammed shut by itself, and from somewhere in the apartment, close enough that I felt it in my bones, came the sound of a phone ringing. 3 times. Episode 13, the final connection. The 3 rings didn't fade away this time. They stayed, hanging in the air, vibrating in my bones as if the sound itself refused to end. I picked up the receiver. No static, no background noise, just a slow, steady breathing. Then a voice spoke. My voice. "Evan Hale," it said, calm and measured. "I've been waiting for you." My mouth went dry. "Who are you?" "You know," the voice replied. "I'm what's left, after the call, after the line takes you." It was wrong hearing my own voice like that, emptied of warmth, stripped of anything human. "What do you want?" I asked. "To finish it," the other me said. You've answered enough times. You've crossed too many lines. There's only one call left. I gripped the phone tighter, my eyes darting to the directory on the desk. The book had opened on its own again. My name was there, but something had changed. Beneath disconnected, a second entry had appeared. Connected, Evan Hale. Status active line. What does that mean? I demanded. The other me chuckled. It means the calls will go through you now. You'll be the voice they hear at 2:17 a.m. The warnings, the lies, all of it. I'm not doing that. You don't have a choice, my voice said. The moment you picked up this call, you became the operator. I shook my head. No. I can end this. I can destroy the phone. The laugh was colder now. You still don't get it. The phone isn't the line. You are. The room dimmed, as if something had drawn the light into the receiver. The air thickened, heavy with the smell of salt water. I heard church bells tolling in the distance, waves crashing, hammering, and voices, dozens, hundreds, layered over one another, some calling names, some whispering warnings, some screaming. They were all speaking through me. The other me's tone sharpened. You'll say what they tell you to say. And one day, when the next name is yours, you'll call yourself. Just like I'm calling you now. I slammed the phone down. The sound of the voices stopped. The room was silent again. Then the landline rang. Caller ID, Evan Hale. I didn't answer. I couldn't. But the phone didn't care. The ringing moved from the desk to the walls to the floor beneath me. Finally, it came from inside my own chest, vibrating through my ribs. On the 12th ring, I heard my voice whisper, right in my ear, from inside my head. Pick up. And my hand started to move.
Epilogue, dead air. I don't remember deciding to pick up the phone. 1 second my hand was frozen. The next the receiver was against my ear. Silence. Then a faint, wet sound, like someone breathing through water. And my own voice, calm, resigned. Welcome to the line, Evan. I tried to speak, but my throat wouldn't work. It was as if the words were being held back, waiting for permission. I told you this was the last call. My voice continued. Now it's your turn to make one. In the corner of the room, the directory turned its own pages. Faster and faster. The sound sharp as knives through paper. It stopped halfway through, landing on a name I didn't recognize. Beside it, a number. Call them. The voice inside me ordered. I won't. I said. My words came out strange, as though I were speaking through another person's mouth. You will, it said, because if you don't, the line will take someone you do know. Someone still breathing. The name in the book shifted, the ink writhing like an insect before settling into letters I couldn't mistake. Claire Hale. She's already gone, I said. The voice chuckled, low. Cruel. She's only halfway. We can bring her back. Or we can take her the rest of the way. 1 ring. Evan. Just 1. My hand moved on its own, dialing the number. Each click of the rotary echoed in my bones. It rang. Once. Twice. 3 times. A woman answered. Her voice was groggy. Confused. Hello? The words that came out of my mouth weren't mine. They were cold. Rehearsed. Don't answer when he calls you next. And then the line went dead. The directory on my desk turned again, this time to a blank page. My name appeared at the top. Under it, status, active line, first connection complete. I dropped the phone, my stomach twisting. Somewhere out there, a stranger was sitting in the dark, holding their phone, wondering who I was. The room felt smaller, heavier. The phone rang again. I didn't look at the caller ID. Some part of me knew that from now on, it didn't matter who was calling, because I was already on the other side of the line. And sooner or later, I'd be the one making the calls.